Government housing is usually depicted as a neighborhood that has a lot of gangs, drugs, gun violence, but there's more to my neighborhood than just that.
People thought Canada was glorious and free, but we're not America. I'm not talking about America.
Talk about an inspiration. We're talking about a guy from the east side of the city in Scarborough, Ontario, and he uses his motivation from growing up in the hood to motivating Canadians from all across the country by biking from coast to coast. And he is now a published author with Butterflies in the Trenches, The Hood, An Epic Bike Ride, and Finding Inspiration. Curtis Carmichael joins us this morning now to talk more about this incredible book. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Curtis. First of all, congratulations to you on the release of this book. We'll get into it in just a moment. But I also want to, of course, two East End kids right now just having a chat this morning, hailing from Scarborough. And, you really dive into the realities of some of the things that people who may not have grown up in Scarborough or in the East End don't know too much about, but you also really shed a light on the idea of growing up in community housing, the realities of it, but then at the same time, the fact that it's all about perspective and how you've used it as motivation in your life. So just dive in and tell us what this book is all about and how it can be motivational for so many young kids who are currently in a position that you used to be in.
Yeah, definitely. As a young kid, I didn't have the words for it, but I knew we were living under these colonial systems where systemic racism was impacting all major institutions and impacting every facet of my life. So I saw it from education and employment, from housing, healthcare, homelessness, and even the criminal justice system. So given this reality, I knew that the systems were designed to do what they're designed to do. So I wanted to look for a book as a child of someone who broke the cycle of poverty and equipped young people to do the same. I couldn't find it as a kid, couldn't find it as a teenager, couldn't find it when I went to university at Queen's University. And when I became an elementary teacher, still couldn't find it. So I decided to write Butterflies in the Trenches, which proves that the most innovative place and the most innovative people in the world are people who live in the hood, both locally and globally.
And, it's really fascinating because in your book, you really do dive into this idea that some of the things that are taught when you grow up in the streets or when you grow up from your own intellectual learning, as opposed to what you learn as far as you can call it being book smart, there's a lot of similarities on things that you learn out in the streets versus what you may learn in a classroom or what you may learn in a boardroom, and how there's more similarities than there are differences.
Definitely. I think my story is pretty upfront. Like, I was a childhood drug dealer who became a Team Canada athlete and cycled across the country, but I actually used transferable skills from being in that community to become successful. And that's what I really wanted to give young people a vision to see, that you can use these skills in this neighborhood to be successful in any industry.
I love it. And when you talk about your journey, you mentioned you grew up, you finished valedictorian in your high school years, you attended Queen's University. You're obviously an athlete because then you put your athletic measures to good use. And then you came up with this idea to raise over $100,000 to bike from BC all the way to the other side of the country. How was that journey, not only physically grueling, but mentally?
Yeah, that journey was something to do once and never do again. And I think when I was biking across the country, when I got into BC, I really questioned if I should stop. And I remember the kids sending me a video of like, Curtis, when you bike, you're biking for me. And I was motivated to finish the ride because physically I was tired, but mentally it was exhausting because I had to speak every day about systemic racism and how it manifests in society. And I was very exhausted. So at the end of the trip, I decided I needed to finish. So I decided to show other young people that, you know what, we can keep going. We just have to see like Terry Fox and Hanson our motivation. But now you have your hood version of someone who can really motivate you. And
well said. When it comes to this book, this was a over 3-year journey for you, from the idea, working on it, and then now holding it in my hands, and it's now available on your website. How proud are you of this moment to finally see it come to fruition and for people to learn more about your story and for hopefully to spread some inspiration and motivation to the younger generation and to the next generation?
Yeah, definitely. I'm stoked. I think out of anything I've ever accomplished in my life, the book is my most proudest thing I stand on. And that's because I think a lot of young people are seeing that, success is not making it out. It's making your life and your community better. And once you read widely, think critically, and question everything, you really can see that you're all gifted. We just need the right time and an environment to live out that potential. So I'm really proud of this book, and most proud that it gives young people the tools to really break the cycle of poverty and equip others to do the same.
And I love that what you said about that, because, you know, typically, let's be honest, we know plenty of people who have success stories starting from nothing or from the trenches, from the hood, from the streets, and then, you know, they make it, if you will, and then they sort of leave. But you've made it a point that now that you have accomplished all that you have so far in your short years of life, that you want to continue to give back to Scarborough, to the east end of the city, exactly where you came from, and why that's so important for you.
Yeah, that's huge, because I think from my perspective is that I'm still out in the hood. So the kids, the family, the parents still help me up when I'm around. And my goal is how can we prepare them for the future of work? No one's really talking about those communities preparing for the future of work. So what I'm doing is, in my book, I talk about things like financial literacy, STEM education, entrepreneurship from a lens of anti-racism, and also mental health and wellness in order to prepare our community for the future of work. So it means a lot for me to still be 10 toes down in the hood. And I'll always be there to support as long as I have breath in my life.
Shout out to Nipsey Hussle on that note. You know what?
Definitely Nipsey Hussle.
Congratulations. You are doing great work, my friend. Real quick, where can people get your book?
Okay, you only could get the book exclusively right now from my website, curtiscarmichael.ca. And for teachers who are watching other people in book clubs, there's actually a teaching and curriculum guide that's free as well. And there's a mobile app where you scan the book and it brings the book to life as the world's first augmented reality memoir.
It's fantastic. Butterflies in the Trenches. Curtis Carmichael, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Scarborough, stand up.
Hey.